okay, so now let's get to the money. It was Ohtani's idea to defer money, and he came up with the figure initially of all of it? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, what he said to Nez Bolello is, can I defer my salary? And he wasn't dead set on all of it, but they had to look up what exactly is allowed in the CBA. What they found was the greatest percentage that's ever been before this one deferred was Max Scherzer with the Nationals. He had 50% of the $210 million contract that the Nationals deferred. You have a couple of guys, Mookie Betts, a couple other guys in the 20%, maybe 30%. That's it. So once Nez Bolello said you can't play for free, you have to have some number. Some reason they came up with $2 million. It's as good as a 1 or 3, I guess. But yes, it was Ohtani's idea. Now, there are a couple of reasons for that, Rich. He didn't want any team, and it was mostly likely going to be the Dodgers, to have to pay such a prohibitive luxury tax that they didn't have room to add players around him. It was really important for him that he didn't hamstring a team. And the other thing is, even making $2 million next year, guess who the highest paid player in baseball is? It's Shohei Ohtani, because he's making $50 million off the field. There's nobody like him in baseball in terms of being an international, brand ambassador for whatever you want. So he's got $50 million in his pocket going into next year. So if you defer out $680 million 10 years from now with no interest, he's okay with that. I mean, just imagine the cartwheels the Dodgers did down the hallways when he came up with this idea that I'll play for you for $2 million a year. Crazy.
So does this mean that the 2033 or 2034 through 2043 Dodgers are going to have to pay $68 million on it? Does that count towards a luxury tax then? Or this is now completely separate from what counts towards a luxury tax, or the Dodgers just don't care that the entirety of the collective bargaining agreement may be totally different by then anyway? Let's just kick the can down the road and screw it and win World Series now. What about that?
Well, they don't care because they're essentially getting a Ferrari that they don't have to pay for until 10 years from now, and with no interest attached to it. And that's why the number is actually 46 a year, not 70 a year in true present day dollars. Now, they'll have to fund that money. They will have to pay that $60 million per year starting in 2034. By the way, they're also going to have to pay Mookie Betts about 10 or 11 million. Those guys will be 48, 49 years old. They're still collecting millions upon millions from the Dodgers. But as you fund that money and it accrues interest, and it's less than that far out than it is today, that's a no-brainer for the Dodgers to do. And, I hate to say this because we are so accustomed, Rich, to looking at these deals and saying they're all Trojan horses, right? What is going on here, actually? And Ohtani's just a different cat, man. I always say, when you think about what's the golden age of baseball, it's usually that time when you were 10 years old, right? Because that's when you just have these wide eyes and you're looking at baseball for the first time and falling in love. Well, not to sound corny, but that's the way Ohtani looks at the game. And I think we're better off looking at this like Ohtani and being more naive than cynical when it comes to this deal. It's a great deal for the Dodgers, and it's a great deal for Ohtani. And he did take this from a really humble point of view to say, I don't want to hamstring the team, and I can afford to do this by getting $50 million coming to me off the field.
Well, and again, though, it's not like the NFL and the NBA where you're circumventing a hard cap and you're taking advantage of the soft part of a cap. This is to avoid paying lower market teams money that you don't want them to just pocket, because it's not going to go back into the competitive spirit of the game, because they're going to, the Angeloses aren't going to suddenly say, we're going to start paying people $25 million a year because we'll take some luxury tax money and do that. So my question for you is, the luxury tax was set up so teams like the Dodgers wouldn't have the top of an order being Betts, Freeman, Ohtani. That's why you have this system, and it's now been completely circumvented now by the largesse of somebody, as you point out, is not cynical in Ohtani, but it's happening. How does Major League Baseball feel about this right now?
First of all, they're happy that this guy is with the Dodgers, right? I mean, we have not seen Ohtani in the postseason, and there's a pretty good chance, considering the Dodgers have been in the postseason 11 straight years, you're going to see that now. You want your best players on the biggest stage. That's going to happen. Dodgers are a big brand. There's no question about it. This helps Major League Baseball. As far as circumvention goes, I mean, this is totally allowable in the CBA. Listen, Ohtani, you're never going to see someone play pitch and hit like Ohtani ever again. Not at this level. I'm sorry. People are saying, does this open the door for more Ohtanis? No, he's that much of a unicorn. And the same with this contract. What other player, Rich, is going to get to free agency and say, defer 97% of my salary? Nobody. I mean, again, the Dodgers must have been doing cartwheels when he brought that up. Most guys walk in there and they say, I want the money. I want to set records. I want a luxury box. I want limo rides or plane rides back and forth to home. I want all these perks. He didn't ask for any of that. He actually did the opposite and that said, you can have the money for 10 years. I don't need it. It's exactly what he said. He actually told the Dodgers, these numbers are laughable. He used that word. I mean, we just have to look at Ohtani differently than we do most of these players who get to the peak of their profession and want to max out because their value is attached. Don't get me wrong. He still has great value. Nobody's feeling sorry for him in terms of the money. But this is a very gracious, unusual, and I think unique gesture. And as far as the salary structure, Rich, the way I look at it now is we used to have the haves and the have-nots. We have 3 tiers now. You have the Dodgers and the Mets, then you have the haves, and then you have the have-nots. And that's the way it is right now. And maybe the Yankees want to join the Dodgers and the Mets, and maybe Yamamoto pushes the Yankees in that regard. But yeah, they're playing by different rules. But look what happened in the postseason last year. Arizona took them out in 3 games. So that's the great equalizer. The baseball postseason now is the great equalizer. It's hard to imagine the Dodgers not making the playoffs when they have Ohtani 10 straight years. But how many championships? I don't know. If they get 1, that's a lot the way the game is going because of the postseason. Because being that super third-tier team, that super team, so to speak, doesn't guarantee you anything in a 5-game series.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.